So how's the campaign trail going in?
The campaign is going fantastic. People are really warming up to the idea of a challenge, of a candidate being transparent, a candidate being honest, and ready to work for the people and the county of Webb County.
Good, good, good. I've seen a lot of positive things going on.
Absolutely. People are coming up to me, they're talking to me, they're calling, they're ready to give their support to my candidacy, and I feel very good about in the direction it's going right now.
Awesome. I've seen a lot of folks kind of stand up now more than before.
Yes.
Okay. And why do you think that's going on?
Well, I think people are wanting to come and really have the voice of the people heard is one of the things. I think the reaction of the community is we really want to make a difference.
Sure.
We're not the sleepy town. We're not the little town that we are anymore. You know, with a population of almost 300,000 for the county and growing, people really want to see change, and that's what I'm all about, is to bring change and representation to our local district.
Good. What would you like to change that you say, you know what, this needs a little bit more work? What do you think? It's an infrastructure, or what do you think?
There's 4 or 5 issues that I'm really concentrating on. One of the things that I'm going to be concentrating on for sure, right off the top, is I need to let the people know that I have a self-imposed 10-year term limit, which means that when elected and I get into office, I'll be there for a total of 10 years and then get out. I'm going to go in, do the job, represent our community, hopefully get the monies, the additional monies that we need, that we have been lacking in our area, and get out. It will give the opportunity for others to begin to taking a look at that timeline and saying we need to prepare ourselves to continue. Things are changing constantly, and in 10 years, the technology is going to be different, the mindset's going to be different, boundaries are going to be different. We're going to have new personnel, new growth,
Sure.
and you need that new mindset to take over at that particular time.
Sure. All in agreement. We have a question here from Rudy Morales. Rudy, how are we doing today? He said, how do you feel about the current school finance plan?
The current school finance plan, we need to take a look at that. It's a bit antiquated. Without the support of teachers, education is probably the most important thing that we need to address in our area. And we need to support the teachers. We need to support what's happening at the state. Right now, there's that huge issue about this one course, the Hispanic course, that they want to. They're looking at changing the name of this at the state level, at the state board. And these are the type of issues that we're looking at. But probably what we're saying is, you know, what about our salaries and what about our retirement is probably what he's looking at. And we have to take a look at that. And we have to be serious about taking care of the people that are educating our own people in our community.
Sure. I'm going to interrupt real quick. Folks, if you guys want to call in, we'll post a number up on top, and feel free. And you can write down the question here as well. How are we doing, Howard? Hope you're doing good. And here's another thing. How do you see the workforce coming in Laredo? Do you think are we missing out in anything? What do you see?
I think the workforce needs to go to the next level. And it goes back to education.
Sure.
We need to start looking at what are the emerging occupations that we have for our area. We need to concentrate them not only at the high school level, we need to look at them at the community college level. Workforce is vital to the growth of our community, and we have to work with them hand in hand. One of the things I'm proposing is to jumpstart a program on apprenticeships. Back when I was at the Laredo Community College, there was a program called Tech Prep that helped high school students articulate courses with a community college. So the educational component of what needs to be done is already in place, and we have all these advanced classes now with education, I mean the early college and all that. But we need to take it to the next level, and apprenticeships, I think, is the next best way of looking at bringing the actual student to the workforce, public and private enterprises working together to make a successful workforce that we need. If we're going to be globally competitive, we really need to start taking a look at that. And I want to take the leadership in that and bring in the mannerism in which to move that forward.
You know, we used to see a lot of vocation classes, and there's a lot of people that do a lot of vocation work. You know, we have a lot of welders.
Yes.
When the fracking issues came of age,
Yes.
oil came of age, guess what? A lot of the welders left, and they were getting paid good money. I think we have to, a lot of those vocations, we need to really start building them up. I don't know if we're doing that in the schools that we were before. I think, and the colleges, I think we have to pay attention to them.
We have to take a look at the dynamics of our community. It's now, vocation is now called, or
Yeah.
was the name changed to career and technology. That's what I used to do with Tech Prep is help articulate those courses in the nursing, in the computer, in welding, and things like that. So we have to take a look at the dynamics of our community and address and bring in more monies, because that is what the workforce that we have today in our community has to be addressed, and it has to be competitive globally. And until we make it competitive, it's going to be difficult for us to bring in the big companies that will be attracted to our city. So that's just one of the components for bringing the workforce. We have to work with the chamber, we have to work with LTF, and we have to work with the universities to be able to make a seamless transition of all the students to be able to go into a competitive workforce globally.
Sure. What would your idea be in Laredo in the next 10 years?
Well, there's so many issues that we are facing because of the growth that we're having. Laredo's growing rapidly. What I would like to see is more infrastructure, more things that will make our city grow, that will make our district grow. And it's a win-win situation, because if you're helping our local leadership, we're helping everyone that's involved in the county. There's issues like transportation that we need to pay more attention to. Being that I was in transportation and trucking for almost 20 years myself, I fully understand that a truck that's sitting, that's idle, is losing money. The just-in-time concept that was being implemented 40 years ago, I was in during that time that it was being implemented. So it takes knowledge of what's happening to be able to understand and reason out good solutions for our community.
Sure. Talking about the trucking business, what do you feel about NAFTA? Do you think we should be changed? Do you think it should be amended? How do you feel about that?
NAFTA is a great document, but it is outdated. We need to bring it up to the 21st century. We need to bring it up to date. What happens is that a lot of the language and a lot of the components that made up NAFTA, with the parts going into Mexico and coming back, assembled, and they don't exist any longer. Being that I have a master's degree in international trade and working in the international community with trucking, I understand the need of what NAFTA is happening. So I think I would be a good proponent to make sure that we could help address some of those issues. Obviously, this is very much a federal issue.
Sure.
Very, very big federal. But our input, and I think our local leaders here in our community are doing an incredible job of going and voicing our chamber as one of the local banks, IBC, and their people are fighting for the NAFTA, and because they understand the importance of it. And I totally support that. And I think our Congressman, Mr. Cuellar, is also doing an incredible job in pushing the NAFTA and what needs to be done. I, as a representative, would be there to also support and bring the attention to the need of our community, and that's very important.
Good.
Yes.
Good. What issues do you see towards security-wise?
Security-wise, when we're talking about security, we're talking about border security. It is a big issue. It is an issue that is being addressed, and I think it's being addressed correctly. For our area, And probably what you're probably asking me is about the wall. Is probably one of the
That'll be one, but-
that's one of the issues. I don't believe that the wall would be the solution, especially between our communities and our friends to the south, Mexico and Nuevo Laredo and ourselves. The wall is not going to be an issue. Further out in different areas, in isolated areas, it would probably be more beneficial. But I believe that more technology, more money, more boots on the ground, modernizing our infrastructure with the Border Patrol is something that's very, and again, that's one of the federal issues and again, our congressman is doing a really good job, and I would support the issues that will enhance whatever border security means for the safety for our community here.
Understood. Understood. I was more towards security. You know, in the last couple of weeks, we had an incident in Houston. You know, shootings in their schools. I believe our school districts are very much secure,
Okay.
especially UISD.
Okay.
But how do you feel about trying to tackle that problem, especially as a state rep?
Okay.
Is it to remove guns completely?
Okay.
Is it to place more security in there, maybe use our veterans to protect our
Okay.
children? What do you feel about that?
We have the right to bear arms, and the Second Amendment
Sure.
is very clear about that. I support that.
As
Very,
I,
very,
right.
very, very clear. A very touchy subject, but I tell you, I have 3 grandchildren, a 14-year-old, 11, and a 9-year-old in elementary school. I would hate to see anything happen in the school. But I do believe there are certain individuals and there are certain teachers that can be prepared and can be armed silently or even publicly to let people know that they are here and they can protect our students. And I would support any legislation that would say if there's qualified teachers that would go through the necessary steps that would qualify. And, you know, we have tremendous amount of retired armed services that were in the Marines and the Navy and that know how to handle a gun, know how to handle situations. It would be that special type of individual that could handle carrying a weapon in the schools. And I know it's not popular, but I would want my grandchildren to be protected by someone within the school instead of doing the mass shootings.
No, you're absolutely correct, and we're in full agreement. And I think we need the security issues. You know that when we lived in Louisville, Kentucky, you know, back in 5th and 6th grade, my father was actually a doctor over at the VA hospital over there in Louisville, and we had a mandatory gun safety course that the police would come to the schools and literally teach everybody. And either you learned it in 5th grade or you learned it in 6th grade.
Okay.
And they'll come in there for, 3 weeks. They passed you through this course. And, it's something that you don't see that anymore. You see a lot of these accidents occur when, you have kids that, number one, they don't respect their parents. They have never been taught respect nor discipline. All of a sudden find a gun somewhere and all of a sudden accidentally shoot their little buddy.
Right.
Or they go off in a tantrum and they commit these mass shootings or these acts of horror that have plagued us.
Sure.
But that will always occur. So I think we have to teach them respect, and I think if we can teach them respect of that tool, I think we'll have a little bit less of a deterrent.
Exactly. And part of that, comes from also the home, the teaching in the home and the respect. Two things. First of all, I think the pendulum has swung too far away from teacher authority, and we need to bring that back. I think teachers should be respected in the classrooms. They should not have to take insults from students.
Sure.
And I think that there should be some consequences in student disrespecting. There's a difference between having a disagreement and being disrespectful. And when you're disrespectful to a teacher, that's an insult to the whole system per se. And we need to bring in legislation that will bring back some of that respect to the classroom and give more authority to and just because he says, Juanito, siéntate,
No.
you're going to get in trouble because you're trying to teach the rest of the class, and they're disrupting the class.
There has to be discipline.
And it goes back to part of what we were talking about a little earlier, How can we get our students to be globally competitive if they're being disruptive in the classroom? We cannot develop that workforce to be able to launch forward and be globally competitive, which I very much would. We have the potential. We have some dynamic teachers and dynamic students here in our community, some leadership that we have here, just great people in Laredo, and we're not seeing the fruits of what the potential of Laredo is.
No, you're absolutely correct. Here's another question that came of age, Mr. De La Garza, from Howard Ivy. How do you feel about secondary water sources?
Well, the secondary waters, we can't grow the city without water, and thank you very much for the question, Howard. Very much so. I've been keeping up with some of the issues. I know some of our neighbor cities, and Crystal City and Eagle Pass, have definitely identified the second water source. And without water, we can't grow the city. We can have the best leadership and we can have the best infrastructure, but if that water's not present, we're not going to go anywhere.
There's been a lot of not only cities in the past, nations that have just dried up because of no water.
Right, and I believe it's being addressed slowly but surely. But we need to take a more active, proactive approach to that, because without the water, we're not going to go anywhere.
No, you're absolutely correct. Yep. Anything else we have to bring forward?
Well, the issue of taxes, property taxes, tax reform. What a chore it is for us to have to put up with 10-15% increase in tax rates, in tax valuation, I should say, almost year after year. I think we should implement some type of a cap, a 2%, maybe a 2.5% cap in property values, for many reasons. First of all, the elderly, we don't want to see those values increasing, even though they're homesteads and they're exempt from increases. Families with 3 and 4 family members in one household, you start increasing that valuation, and you will start running into really critical points that we don't want to address. We don't want to be addressing foreclosures. We don't want to be addressing people in default, because that's a negative effect to our community. So not only for personal, but for business. Business has to budget their reserves, and they have to budget their expenses to be able to to pay the taxes that everybody owes.
The residual effects are pretty dramatic.
They are.
And then people say, no, it's not. Well, something that was $50, we'll get them in, now it's going to be 70.
Yeah.
And people do not understand that. And I don't know where they're coming from, but the tax is an issue that is right now has everybody up in roar.
Absolutely,
up
absolutely.
in arms, and everybody's now looking sideways. And I think it's going to be like the issue of last year's jail proposition.
Well, that was a big issue.
And people stood up and said no.
And then they said no. Eventually, we'll have to address that, but that'll come at a later time. But myself being in office, I would definitely support or even introduce legislation that would put a cap on property valuations. The other issue is, it's also becoming very popular right now, and it's being implemented in other cities, is how about a tax relief for some of the elderly? $10,000 a year, $15,000 a year relief from their valuations. Their checks, retired individuals have their checks that are consistent, then they're going to be going up. But if our valuations keep going up, either on the rate or on the assessed value, it will hurt, and it will start strangling the economy, because now they have to pay more taxes instead of paying more on the economy in itself. And these are things that we have to take a look at, that we have to address, and that we want to make it equitable for all individuals. We all have to contribute. I don't have a problem paying, but don't overdo it. Don't overtax me. And so less tax, more representation is what we need.
No, you're absolutely correct. What is your actual district? A lot of people do not understand your district.
Thank you.
What are your boundaries? Because,
Yeah.
people say, no, it's only on this street and it's not on that.
Right.
It doesn't go that far.
Well, let me put it to you this way. To the west of us, we have Representative Tracy King,
Sure.
who has 6 counties. To the east of us, we have a Representative Ryan Guillen, who has 10 counties. Representative District 42 is within the city of Laredo.
Right.
The mayor has more territory than the state representative. So if you look at the map, if you look at Shiloh, International and Loop 20, where Walmart is,
Sure.
that's District 42. But across the street, where you have Chase Bank, HEB, and Doctor Hospital, and everything to the west of that, the Mines Road, it belongs to Tracy King. So from there, we go down south, and it goes into the west side of Laredo, and then it goes to the downtown area, and it goes all the way to Sacred Heart's Children's Homes.
Sure.
The first main street south of that is called Lomas del Sur. Lomas del Sur will go almost all the way to Cuatro Vientos. It goes back up, and it actually United South is part of Ryan Guillen's territory and not part of our district here within the city. And then it goes up into the lakeside area, and then back up. So it's a very small area geographically, but population-wise, it deals with about 182,000 people. And so we want to make sure, so the area is not large. The representation should not be difficult to do, and we should be able to do. So I'm working and I'm walking the streets of North Laredo, and I'm also walking the streets of South Laredo.
Great, because, you need that for a campaign, and you need to be very aggressive towards being out there, and I've seen that with you.
Well, thank you.
And aggressive, I mean, that you're up there, here, I am so,
Knocking on doors. We're
Right.
doing a grassroots campaign.
and that's what is needed, I think everybody's doing a good job.
Soy de Laredo, and I belong here, and I want to represent our people, and I want our people from the north and the south to understand that I'm from Chacon. I was born and raised in El Chacon in South Laredo, and I am from there, and they are very much a part of the district as anyone else. So I will be representing our people, including the south.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Anything else you'd like to bring forward?
There's a couple of issues that or concerns that I have. I brought with me the Webb County State Legislative Agenda for 2015. Our county commissioners, every year, every 2 years, produce a state legislative agenda.
Okay.
Within this agenda are issues that they want our state to address. And right now they're presently starting to prepare the state legislative agenda that will be coming up. So within this agenda, it deals with illicit drugs, it deals with salvage cars, it deals with fracking, it deals with all those issues. And none of these issues were addressed by our representative. And it comes to a point, and if you didn't, well, at least let us know why you didn't. So we don't know why none of the county issues were addressed. And, and as a citizen, I'd like to know if our county is concerned and they really want these to be legislatively addressed, why were they not? And it's an issue that I will certainly be working with our county officials and city officials to make sure that these agenda items are represented and give explanations as to why I would support or would not support a particular issue that may be brought up.
And was there some, you said something about illicit drugs. What's going on
Sure.
with illicit drugs?
They have their resolutions that are here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Restrictive synthetic drugs. To support legislation that will prohibit or restrict the distribution and sale of synthetic marijuana or substance which mimic the effect of marijuana. Our local officials, our county officials, think that that's a really, really big concern, and as do I.
Of course,
having the 3 grandchildren, I don't want them to be exposed to that. So they were asking for some type of legislative address on this, and there is nothing that's been said about that. And so I think, and that's what I'm talking about, the representation. Let me bring the representation back to what it is. Let me speak to the people. Let me represent us in Austin, and with that voice, we will go forward. We'll be able to make Laredo a better place to live.
No, good point. And, you know, drugs, regardless if it's synthetic or natural or whatnot, it's still a drug.
A drug is a drug.
And, you know, so if it gives you the effect, you know, so it's a drug, so.
And a lot of people think, well, it's only the beginning with marijuana. That's what takes us to the beginning, and it takes us later on to a hopefully never to a different level of
And the
synthetic.
problem with drugs, it doesn't have any prejudice. It'll hit any level of society,
That's correct.
any body, any profession,
Right.
any age group.
Right.
So it's something that is in our face daily, and we have to fight against that,
Right.
you know? I've seen kids, younger, come of age, and you see them with, you know, that little pothead grin, you know, and you're like, you know what I'm talking
Exactly,
about. And
yes.
we have to stop, we have to put our foot down.
Yes.
And that's a hard part as a parent. And you know, I've always said this, and I have one shot of being a father. I can't fail.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think you feel the
Absolutely.
same way.
Well,
we have one
absolutely.
shot.
Yeah, and the thing is that the struggle continues, and it not only addresses it affects the whole family and the surrounding family all around, and so it's a multiplier effect on that.
No, of course. So, you know, we have to be very careful. We have to be vigilant. We have to be there with our children.
And anything that will stop drugs, I will definitely be a proponent of that, and that would be one of the big issues that I would definitely address. And like I say, our county officials are the ones asking for support, and that would be definitely an issue that I would address strongly.
Several years ago, there was a lot of issues with that synthetic marijuana that they were selling. And they were selling it in corner grocery stores, you
Right.
know, just open as an incense, and people were buying. And we had a couple of kids here that died of that, and are not.
How unfortunate, and it's so preventable. It's
Sure.
so preventable.
So, you know, it's just that how the evil mindset of somebody that will produce something like that, to
Yeah.
throw it out there, it's kind of sickening.
Yes. You know, so one of the things that I wanted to also, you know, law enforcement. Law enforcement is critical to our area and to the safety of our, safety for our area. We need to continue to support all the law enforcement agencies, and I want to thank them for doing the fabulous job that they do to begin with, and they make me feel safe in our community. But we need to continue to support them in the efforts, whether it be through more grants, it be more monies, you know, creative ways of funding, support for their gear, for their technology, for more training. You know, I'm a big proponent, major proponent of law enforcement, and at all levels, at the local level to the federal level. And so it's just part of what makes Laredo a good place to live. So many people say, well, you live on the border and there's a lot of violence. Yes, but it's not with us, it's across the river. So let's not confuse where the violence is. Do we have violence? Well, of course. As I mentioned earlier, we're becoming the big city. We're now having some tragedies that are happening. You know, we just had the death of that 1-year-old on a drive-by. I can't fathom the hurt that family's going through. But that's part of being a big city. But if we can support law enforcement to be able to keep that at a minimum, I think it would be a good thing.
No, you're correct. I mean, violence has always been here. I mean, it's a port city. It's just part of.
Part of life. It's part of
But,
what we have to live with. Yes.
But we need security, and especially with our first responders and our law enforcement, because it doesn't matter what your political views are, or your sexual orientation, or who you pray to. Something happens to you, they're going to go out there regardless of who you are.
That's right.
And
That's
God
right.
bless you guys out there. Be safe.
Absolutely.
And you guys are doing a hell of a job.
Absolutely.
But anything else?
Well, if we want to address, workforce education, is a big issue. Laredo Community College is doing a tremendous job. One of the big issues that we're talking about recently is, we have a sports venue and then we have an economic venue. I think we need to start taking a look at for the city, if we're going to make our city really, really grow, we need to start taking at that economic engine that will help our community. We need to finish with our sports venue right now, and maybe there's a way of accelerating that. It's one of the things I would be taking a look at. We don't have enough revenue coming in to support the students. For example, Laredo Community College is turning away students in the nursing program because they don't have enough monies to do that. So that's one of the things I want to definitely take a look at and make sure that, and again, we need the representation to be able to fight for those things and bring direction to the city and see which is the best route that we want to do. I'll be forming a committee to help me determine all those issues, but that's in the near future.
Sure. When do the elections kick off?
The elections are November the 6th. Early voting is obviously 2 weeks before that. Our headquarters is placed in 6202 McPherson. And we have our headquarters, and I invite everyone to come in and join us. We're starting to open up there in the afternoons, and we have a big event that's coming up June 30th. We're having a barbecue plate sale on June 30th, and they're at the headquarters. And so I invite everyone who hasn't bought a ticket to please come in and join us for that.
It'll be fine. It'll be good. McPherson, what level?
6202. The Assembly of God Church.
Sure.
Across the street.
Okay.
There's a daycare center, and it's on Commerce Street. It's at the corner of McPherson and Commerce.
There used to be a restaurant there?
I don't believe so, but it's the following block. It's on the
Okay.
following block.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now
Absolutely.
we know now I know where
Yes,
you're at. Yes.
yes. And, if anybody would like, to please give me a call. Give me a call at 956-286-4897 to our campaign phone, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions and all questions to anyone, and that's what I'm here for.
And you have a website?
We have a website. It's www.dlg for state rep. There you will be able to see and it's .com. There you'll be able to see our website, but you also see the map, and it's a very clearly designed map. Our web people did a great job in designing that, and so we ask you to go that. One of the things that our web page has is also for donations. Anybody wanting to donate to the campaign, the $5, $10, $20 donations are more than welcome, and you can do it through PayPal. We can do it through that section of the web page. So we're looking forward to the last 5 months of this campaign. We've got some really big challenges ahead of us, but we are forging forward, and we will be making a difference in our community. And like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to go to my website, have a question, give me a call directly. I answer and return all my calls, and so I want to just tell the people that don't forget to go out to vote, and we're having an off-year election, but still we are looking forward to hopefully be able to increase the number of votes that we have from the previous elections.
We hope. And how do you feel about that with the voting? I'm going to change that a little bit. What do you think's wrong with, how come we have the numbers are low?
I don't know. Is it because we want it, because is it the status quo that we've done things for so many years the same way? The change is not there. So my voice and my genre is do you want to stay with what we're doing, or do you want real change? And the real change is going to be coming with me, because I will be representing our people, and we're going to be doing things differently and better. And that's the message that we want to get. So the time is now. We need to make sure that we have the change, we have the voice, we have the representation for our people, for our community.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. The only way you're going to get change is at the ballot box.
Exactly.
And if people do not go and vote,
Yeah.
there's nothing's going to be changed.
Some talk has come out about the straight ticket and how that's going to be a negative to me. Well, I don't see that because I think a voter is now better educated. I think they're voting now more for the candidate. But one of the caveats that we've got with the last this will be the last year ever we'll be able to vote straight ticket. But one of the things that was implemented was if you vote straight ticket, you can also vote for the candidate, and that candidate vote will override the straight ticket vote. So just as a point of information, and it's the last year we'll be able to do that. And like I said, that was one of the rules that was implemented with the sunsetting of the straight ticket vote.
I've never seen why you vote straight ticket. Never seen it, and what the reason for it. You have to vote for each individual for what the individual is.
Well, that's what I'm hoping
You know
for.
what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, and that's what I've never really gotten, and here in Laredo got into this habit.
Yeah.
There's good habits, bad habits, and you know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
that habit has to break,
And that's what we're hoping for. That's why the change is coming about. That's why the challenge of an opponent is here. And we're trying to make the difference, and we're trying to say, it's okay to change because you're going to have a representative that's really going to address the issues, and that's going to be really representing the community and our people here.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Paul.
We wish everybody that's running the best of luck.
Yes, we've got a lot.
And,
Our city
so
council races are,
There's several there that have 11, 12 in one race and 5 in another.
And we're hoping that, and I'm hoping that they're coming out because they really want to make change and be representative of the ideas of the community and the people.
Sure.
And that's what we want to, and obviously working within the parameters of the law. We have to work within those, and that's why we're a nation of laws and rules, and that's what governs us. And we cannot get away, we cannot supersede those, because we will create chaos. So working within the boundaries of the law is monumental.
And people forget that we're a republic.
Yeah, we are a republic, that's exactly right.
And, I don't know where they came up with this Democrat stuff, but we are a republic.
The country is a republic with a
And-
democratic voice.
Exactly right.
But there's a Democrat Party and a Republican Party. There's no Democratic Party. It's a
Right.
Democrat Party.
Right, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah. So, thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
Thank you for
And,
your show and for your time, for the invitation. It's organizations like yourself that bring the voice out to the people and let us express ourselves and let the community know what we stand for and what we are. So I want to thank God for giving me the blessings that He has for many years.
Absolutely.
And how He continues to bless our community.
And I want to thank you, number one, for coming out and for educating me today on a couple of issues that I wasn't aware that existed, and stuff that we need to do.
Exactly.
And I think that we need to push this forward, and it's people like you that keep us going.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay?
very
And
much.
the reason I say that is this started out as a informative, try to see what people do not know in the community, and every time somebody comes here, we all learn.
It's great.
And
Well,
that's
I'm
just
glad
the
I
way
was
it is.
able to bring additional
thank you.
information to your program. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
Until next time, guys, you be safe. And on Thursday, we're going to have an interesting guest. We're going to be Skyping him in from Dallas. His name is Sonny Pusakas. We're going to be touching base on the Second Amendment.
There you go.
We're going to be touching base on gun control and gun issues and defenses with a gun that is very much needed in today's society. Once more, be safe.